A grave on the top of the mountain in the middle of nowhere. This is the grave of the first recorded murder victim in Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, called the Peddler's grave. Hi, DD Explorers here. We're on the top of the mountain between Mahanoy City and Ringtown. We're going to check out the first recorded murder in Schuylkill County. Joost Fulber. Sorry for the pronunciation. I'm not quite sure how to say it. But he was murdered brutally. And his grave is up here on the top of this mountain. Let's go find it. This is near the P&R and C&S Company's Upper Waste Run. The brutal murder was on August 11, 1797. There was a lot of game in this forest, and the murderer was at a hotel in Mahanoy City, not too far from here. He was here to hunt. Well, he did some hunting. He was staying at a tavern in Mahanoy City. He was only planning to stay for 10 days. Part of his tab was paid by the game he caught and trapped. And when he found out about Joost, a traveling peddler, his plans changed drastically. The victim of this murder was Joost Fulber. He was a traveling peddler. He was traveling by horse to Reading and Catawissa from Mahanoy City. And pretty much all that we know about him is that he had a wife whose maiden name was Margaret Lindenmuth and a sister living at Roaring Creek. On a previous video, I did one of the Lindenmuth Cemetery in Ringtown. I'm going to have to go back and look at that to see if Margaret is buried in there. Joost carried light wares, personal, domestic use, and his saddlebags were usually filled with old copper coins, pans, and stuff like that. Just for the record, this property is posted, and yes, I do have permission to be on here. I just got done talking to a very nice gentleman, and he said not a problem. So, on with our story. One of Joost's stopping places was in Mahanoy City at a tavern kept by John Reich. Reich? I'm not real good with pronouncing names, but R-E-I-C-H. It was a building in the rear of what is now the bank. Tavern / hotel stopping place, August 1st, 1797, 31-year-old Benjamin Bailey went to the tavern to stay. He was going to do some hunting and trapping, and apparently he didn't have a whole lot of money with him because some of the animals that he killed and trapped were given to the tavern owner as payment. Not to be confused with the Ben Bailey from Cash Cab. He was planning to stay for 10 days, but his plans changed quickly when he met Joost. He thought Joost was rich. He heard the jingle-jangle in Joost's saddlebags. He thought it was all money. Bailey learned about the direction that Joost would be taking, so he set a little plan in motion, a devastating, deadly plan. So anyhow, Bailey followed Joost, and he was planning to rob him. And Joost stopped right around here to rest, and Bailey rushed him. He shot in the back. He shot him in the back, but he didn't kill him. So he struck him on the head with a tomahawk, of all things, a tomahawk. And he ditched the bloody clothes and placed Joost on his horse and led him even farther away from the path. Poor Bailey. He was disappointed to find only a few coins, but nothing of any great value. This poor man lost his life just for, from what one account says, it was only 3 cents. That's really sad. August 26th. Fulber's partly decomposed body was discovered and recognized. An inquest was made, and Bailey was seen in Mifflinburg trying to dispose of some goods that he robbed from him, and he was charged with the crime. He was finally arrested in Easton. Apparently he tried to flee, and he was jailed, and he denied guilt. His trial began on Thursday the 9th, and it ended 24 hours later in a verdict of guilty of willful and deliberate murder, and he was sentenced. Good for Yost. Justice is served. Anyhow, here we are. It's a quiet little place. Somebody does keep it up, which is great. And there's a visitor's log too. We're going to look at that in a minute and I'll sign it. And here he is. The Peddler's grave, Jos Foliber, died August 11, 1797. Here in this spot was committed the first known murder in this section. Foliber was a traveling peddler, was ambushed, cruelly murdered, and robbed. He and his horse were left to die by the wayside. His assailant was tried, found guilty, and hanged. E.T. Everett and Sons keep this area up. It's a very nice tribute to this man. I don't know if they're relatives of him somehow, but it's just a nice little spot. Come and reflect. We have some benches here. They also have a couple benches here where you can sit out there and look on the dam. It's a small dam here. It used to be wastewater for the coal companies way back when. Don't know how clean the water is, so I would not recommend going in it. So anyhow, continuing on. The death sentence was issued in December 23rd, and the warrant for execution was for January 6th, 1798. Bailey tried to commit suicide in jail, but someone caught him and stopped him. He did confess his guilt on execution day and said that he regretted wrongfully doing this to Yost. He also hoped that his case would be an awful warning to other people who tried to do the same thing. The execution took place. There were about 6,000 or 7,000 people watching. His last words were, "God be merciful to me, a sinner." Sad story. Poor Yost. The German peddler's grave was first marked with a cement headstone. It was made by Louis Bendrick of Jackson, and it was erected by Frank Thiel, Edward Hillbush, and Joseph Troy, and Frank Benedict. And it is actually visited by hundreds a year, and they keep it from being obliterated and forgotten. Okay, here we have the visitor's log. Let's see what's in it. All kinds of stuff in here. 4/6/19. My first time here after hearing about it for 3 years. Very nice. Windy, still a beautiful day for a ride. On 4/7. Sarah from Hazleton, very nice. Well, let's sign this. DD Explorers, very nice memorial. Don't you love my penmanship? It's horrible, isn't it? I really need to work on that. Well, I'm going to wrap up this video now. It's been a nice hike. It was nice having you along. It's really a nice place. I highly recommend you come to see it. It's peaceful, it's reflective, and it makes you wonder about things that happened in the past, you know. Well, have a nice day. Hope to see you soon. Peace, baby.